good to be here. Yeah. Grateful for the ability to come here and reinforce what I've already learned throughout my life and in my spiritual journey. I was just thinking about that. It's that even if there was just one person here, there'd still be an encounter of God and still be a moment to remember who I am and reinforce the teachings of Jesus, reinforce the teachings of unity, to remember love. And it's just about that connection, like a gathering of one or two people in this adventure that we're in, which is to wake up, awakening, spiritual awakening. That's what we're about here. And no matter where we're at on our awakening, whether we're feeling fear or guilt or remorse in some way about something, or some conflict in our minds, or if we're feeling joy and relatively peaceful, there's no concerns, there's always room for growth, no matter what. And this rings true for anyone, myself, any minister, any person in a position of teaching or authority, or anyone that's feels like they're in poverty or hopeless or whatever they're going through. There's always an opportunity for growth. And we're still in this learning phase while we're here on earth, is what I'm trying to get at. And even Jesus mentioned that in his last couple days, few hours of life until the resurrection. He would say, until the resurrection has occurred, until we return to full awareness of the spirit world, we're in this learning phase, and we're always learning right up until that transition. So in the tradition of Lent, I think it's important to just take a moment to reflect on that. Is, what am I learning right now? Am I just going through the motions each and every day, going through the programs, maybe practicing my readings, but not really feeling them? Maybe attending services, but not really feeling in heart the enthusiasm of God there at any level. I'm just saying it. I remember doing that when I grew up in church. I went to the Catholic Church. I go there and feel nothing. My parents would make me go, and I would just sit there and listen, and it was just like empty noise, like white noise. That's what was happening there. And as I got older, I started to learn that there were some things in it that could be helpful, like not hurting people. I started to realize that, they were talking about ways to not hurt people and ask God to help you in that. And there was some sort of inclination that I need to do that, because it seemed like my own will was not preventing me from hurting others, because I was a troublemaker. I was one of those people that threw the ashes, in the house. I was like that, but I had a gentle, sweet side to me. And just like all of us, we have this dual self. And even if we don't outwardly profess it, we have, there's these sides to each of us. So the part of me that really wanted to get better wasn't quite in the place to do it yet. I hadn't become aware of that spiritual self yet. I hadn't become aware that there was grace inside me to carry me through these tough times and to make new decisions. I was still operating under my own will. So a lot of the things that were taught that could be helpful, I didn't hear. So I think at some level, there is an inability to hear the truth, to hear the teachings of Jesus, and to really apply them in your life until you have that holy instant, like the Course in Miracles talks about, until you have a moment of quickening to the spirit, a grace moment. And then, the light shows up and you're able to see things that you hadn't been able to see before. You're able to draw upon the strength within yourself to apply divine principles to character defects, to selfishness, to guilt, to shame from the past. You're able to actually do that. So I think there's a tender time of our awakening where we're really going within and just asking for that quickening, asking for that grace. And that may actually need to show up again later after that grace has come to us. and we've become really identified with problems, with suffering, with trauma, and we need a recharge. We've fallen asleep. We've stayed in this place of like complacency. We're stagnant, and there's this difficulty in us to find that desire to just love God again, like that spiritual quickening, that enthusiasm to just be with God. Like coming here is effortless to me because I love God. It's just that I just love to come here and share. On Sunday, waking up, when I'm coming here to talk, it's effortless. It's coming down here. I was driving. I saw the snow on the trees. It was beautiful coming down here, and I loved it. Now, there's other things in my life that don't have that effortless feeling to them. It's difficult. There's struggle. I got to kind of force myself to do them. However, the work I'm doing when I'm inspired by Spirit doesn't have that presence to it. It's easy. There may be parts of it that I guess you would say are more challenging than others, but I have the willingness to look at them. What I'm trying to get at here. I may be going through some unforgiveness, some grievances, some resentments, whatever it is, but I have the willingness to embrace those parts of me and to look at them differently when I'm feeling that spiritual presence. If I'm going through something and I don't feel like I have that willingness, or I don't feel like I have the grace to get through this trying time, then that spiritual presence, I'm not aware of it. And I'm taking on the role of trying to do things on my own. That's what I've done. And this never works. Jesus talks about this over and over again. Of yourself, you are nothing. But with God, you're everything. There's very little that we can do. We can't really do a whole lot of anything with our own self-will. I mean, we can get academic. We can learn a new trade. We can do these things on the worldly plane. We can learn about finances, their mind. We can learn to read. We can learn all that. I'm talking about those stuff. We can do a lot of that, but we cannot undo the part of our mind that's in hell. We cannot wish that away. It's just not going to go away. We can't blow it away. It's not magically going to disappear. We need something greater than ourselves to undo that. And we need to let go and let God. You know, our self-control is based, our control techniques, strategies are for the earthly realm, for practicality measures. They're not for spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening is different. It's totally foreign to the ego. This world is upside down to God. It's on this horizontal plane. It seems that everything is out there, and to God, everything is inside you now. And the body is inside God right now. This body, this room, this world, it's inside God. It's not a vacuum. This is full of life and love and joy to God. However, this emptiness that we feel, that's because we're trying to do things on our own. We feel emptiness, if we feel lack, if we feel we're going through the motions, we're attempting to do them on our own. And since it's Lent, I'm going to just get into a little bit of the teachings of Jesus in his last few hours in the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke. The last few chapters talk about it. There's this really rich part in Luke. I mean, it's all real good, but there's some really wonderful things to talk about here. This is in Luke 22. And this is when Jesus was confronted by the multitudes. He was presented by Judas with a kiss. And then Judas betrayed him and took him up to the multitudes and the priests and the scribes and all this, and wanted him to be crucified, to be judged. Which was interesting because Pilate didn't find anything wrong with him. So it was the crowd around him that really wanted him to be crucified. Even Herod didn't find anything wrong, but they were crying out, well, he's leading people away, not paying taxes, things like that. So, just going to read this part here. Okay. And while he was speaking, behold, this is Jesus, a multitude came. And he who was called Judas, one of the 12 disciples, went before them and drew near to Jesus to kiss him. But Jesus said to him, Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? When those around him saw what was going to happen, they said to him, Lord, shall we strike with a sword? And one of them struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. But Jesus answered and said, permit even this, and touched his ear and healed him. So there was healing going on. Didn't want any violence or attack. Just let it go. Let it flow. This is what's happening. I'm being betrayed by my disciples, those that were following me, well, at least the one, and loved me. There's another one too, Peter. He denies Jesus. So there's all this stuff going on with Jesus. It's like he's being seen a lot of tough things. You know, all the people in his life that he loved and he was being that were following him are kind of, in a way, a lot of them are turning away. But he's healing them, still providing love, unconditional support. It's beautiful. And it goes on, and basically what happens here is that he is taken to Pilate, Herod, and they don't find anything wrong with him, but the crowd wants him to be crucified. So eventually Pilate gives him away and releases him, and then they take him up. And in his process of being taken up for the crucifixion, he says this thing, which you guys are probably very familiar with, this pretty famous statement. Jesus says, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. Forgive them, for they do not know what they do. So it seems Jesus is innocent. It seems even on the worldly plane. And people are coming and judging him, and he's saying to forgive them, for they know not what they do. And so this is what we're being challenged with, to present to our brothers and sisters right now, is to forgive them, for they know not what they do. Going back to that part when I was mentioning earlier about the quickening and the awakening and the occurrence, until that actually occurs, the person that's going through that hell and that trial, that tribulation, they do not know what they do. They haven't been made aware of it yet. They're asleep. So they're doing the best they can. And so what we can offer them is peace, is love, is healing like Jesus did, compassion. They will come to their own recognition. And sometimes that may be through suffering. Peter denied Jesus 3 times in that, just right in that time there. And at the last time, he got ashamed and he ran away. And the thing is there's contemplation in that, reflection about that. You know, I'm denying who I really am, ultimately. It wasn't so much that Peter was denying Jesus, he was denying himself, the light within himself, which wasn't necessarily the body out there, Jesus, it was the Christ within him. He's denying that. And so he didn't become sad and lost. There's a lot, like I'm saying, if you want to read this part, really powerful teachings in there, and it goes on, and they're wanting to go with Jesus. And he says here in this passage, assuredly I say to you today, you will be with me in paradise. So what's being said there is that this grace that you're feeling when you're following Jesus, this inspiration, this sincerity of wanting to be who you really are, this Christ self, will lead you to paradise, will lead you to the kingdom of heaven being at hand right now. So this can be our reality. There's a lot of undoing that needs to occur, a lot of work that needs to be done on our behalf, and this goes for everyone. Until we're feeling peace consistently in our life, there's still forgiveness to do. And this can be might need to be applied to our brothers and sisters that are in our life. It may seem that we're free of certain things, that have prevented us from feeling peace, love, and joy. But we may be avoiding stuff by doing that, avoiding responsibilities, avoiding that call within to be more active and engaged in certain relationships, certain missions. So what I do a lot when I'm feeling complacent, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling a little bit lost, is I'm doing the questioning. I'm asking Spirit, what's going on here? Not in a guilt way, but I'm taking responsibility for my mind, and I'm saying, Spirit, show me something here. What am I missing? What mark am I missing here? I want to be inspired to follow you more, and to listen to you in times where I'm feeling lost and scared. And I make phone calls, call people. Maybe I get more into a new teaching. Right now, I'm listening to a podcast by James Finley on turning to the mystics, about the cloud of unknowing is what we're into right now. And I'm doing what I feel guided to do. I'm trying to listen to the Spirit within, and I'm here to say that it works. Listening to Spirit works, and it always will work. But there's no one that really can tell you that. You got to do it yourself, and you got to continue to apply it each and every day. And Jesus says, and there's works that you can do, and even greater works than I did when you do this. There's no limitations to it. There may seem to be limitations in the body, but the God mind has none. No limits. And to step back and say, okay, well, what does that really mean? Is that just an intellectual concept? What did Jesus really mean when he said that? What did he really mean when he said, come with me to paradise? What is that reality that Jesus is talking about there? He wasn't just talking, right? There's something going on there that he was saying to you that you can learn. Okay, was that you can actually live by this. It seems at times that the way he lived and the position he took is unobtainable for us. And maybe the extreme examples of it, he's not asking us to go through, but there are pieces of it that we can really learn from by example. Like the whole story of feeling unfairly treated. Jesus did not take on that role during that time. Forgiving people, healing people, while he's being judged, crucified, and persecuted. So he continued to take responsibility for what's going on, but didn't play the victim identity. So I guess a sure sign that I've reverted back to ego is if I feel like I'm a victim, or if I feel like others are victims. Yeah, that's a tough one. They're not victims. Not victims. That's not helpful. That means that they can't get out of where they're at. They can't get through their trial. They can't move past it. It may seem like they're victims of it, but there is a way out for everyone. And this is the love that's being shown to us. And you might need to reconcile that within your own mind on what that means. You might have a lot of judgments on that, because you might feel as though some people are being victimized and they have no way out of this suffering. You look at the nation right now. However, that's not what Jesus is saying. And so that's a tough thing to reconcile. How do you do that? We got to find a way to do that within yourself. And I'm not here to say how, but it's got to be done, because it's basically not what is being told. It's not the truth. The truth is that you are a child of God no matter what happens, and you remain as God created you through all times. War, disease, grief, death, all of it, you remain as God created you. And that's the resurrection. And this is always true. And you need to wrestle with that idea sometimes. How is that true? How does that make any sense? You may be able to apply it to yourself, but how do you apply it to others? You're going through difficult times. It's a tough question, but we got to do it. That's a part of the complacency. You can stay complacent in this and not grow unless you really get into that. and answer that question for yourself. And so I guess I pose that to you. Yeah. And you'll know when you found some answers to it, because you'll find more peace with yourself and the world you live in. You'll learn what Jesus said by the statement, they know not what they do. You'll be able to apply that easier. It maybe become more natural to you to do that. You know, you won't engage in gossip or criticism of really anyone, governments, corporations, people, anyone. That's a tough one for me, corporations. You know, I want to take on a judgment of that. You feel righteous, and, you know, but it's still pain. Judgment's judgment. You know, when there's a lesson in the Course in Miracles, I'm never upset for the reason I think. All right. You know, I think that my upsets are really helpful, and some are more justified than others. You know, and that's what, you know, Jesus's extreme example. There's no justification for being upset. It's whether I want to or not. And I mean, there's programs in us that it's almost like it feels like it's impossible to stop that feeling of being upset. And it may be at that time. But once you become aware of it, then you can do something about it. When you're not aware of it, you can't do a whole lot about it. Yeah, this is definitely a difficult time in our world, but again, we remain as God created us, no matter what. We can always remember that light dwells in us, and we can extend it to others and bless them. There's things that can be done. There's definitely things that can be done. And there's a positive song being played within us, a very beautiful melody, and that we need to listen to that, listen for what that is and how it's talking to us each and every day. I'll leave you with that. Thank you.